Nobody really prepares you for the kind of heartbreak that doesn't come with shouting or betrayal, no slammed doors, no final fights. It creeps in quietly, in the stillness, in those subtle, haunting moments when someone you love looks at you like they don't really see you anymore. I first met Emily 5 years ago in a cozy bookstore cafe. She was sitting by the window, reading the bell jar, sipping black coffee, wearing a calm smile that seemed to soften everything around her. We ended up talking for hours like we were old friends rediscovering each other. There was a kind of delicate balance in her, poised, yet deeply passionate, warm, but with an air of mystery that drew you in. I fell for her quickly and deeply, and I didn't fight it. Those early days felt like finding my place in the world. She used to send sweet, random messages saying she missed me. We'd make dinner together, fall asleep wrapped up in each other, and dance around the kitchen to 90s R&B like no one was watching. She would rest her head on my chest and whisper that she felt safest there. I believed her completely. That intimacy became my anchor. But the change didn't come with a bang. It was more like a slow, steady drift, like water seeping through a crack in the floor, subtle, but unrelenting. I told myself it was just work stress or exhaustion. So I tried to make things easier for her. I cooked meals she loved, left her little notes, picked her up from the office. I wasn't asking for anything more than closeness. But then she started recoiling even from the smallest gestures. Her kisses became brief, almost reluctant. Her hugs felt hollow. At night, she'd turn away, saying she wasn't in the mood to talk. I kept giving her space, convincing myself not to be clingy. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The silences grew longer. She stopped smiling at my jokes, stopped saying, "I love you" back with any feeling. A month before everything unraveled, I tried to reach her. I came home early with her favorite food and a bottle of wine. She was on the couch, scrolling her phone. I sat next to her and gently asked if we could talk. She didn't get upset. That would have been easier. Instead, she barely looked up and sighed. "What now?" I told her I felt like we were slipping away from each other, like I couldn't feel her anymore. She just shrugged and said, "I don't know what you want from me right now." That broke something inside me. I didn't want a dramatic apology or a grand display. I just needed something real. A touch, a spark, anything to show she still cared. But she didn't. Or wouldn't. Still I stayed. Out of love, maybe. Or fear. Or because I hadn't fully accepted what was already gone. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a quiet Sunday morning. We had plans to see her parents for brunch, something we used to look forward to. I got ready like I always did. Shaved, dressed up, put on the cologne she once said made me smell like comfort. She looked beautiful, wearing the navy blouse I adored. As we were heading out, I leaned in to kiss her. A gentle, familiar thing. Nothing dramatic. She pulled back just slightly, took a step away, and said with no warmth at all, "Don't kiss me." There was no anger, just indifference. I froze, my hand still in the air, caught between us like a question she had no interest in answering. And I didn't argue. Didn't ask why. I just nodded, walked past her, and left. That was the true end. Not the words, but what they meant. The absence. The emptiness. I didn't go to brunch. I drove aimlessly for hours, heart pounding, trying to process what had just happened. Eventually, I ended up at this scenic spot we once visited, where we'd laughed and talked about our future. This time, I sat there alone, and for the first time, I saw clearly she had been gone for a long time. I just didn't want to admit it. Something inside me turned off that day. Not with resentment, just with finality. I didn't announce the change. I didn't have to. My silence said enough. In the days that followed, I stopped trying. I didn't start conversations. I didn't reach out for affection. I greeted her with a nod instead of a kiss, ate in silence, went to bed without a word. It wasn't out of spite. It was a decision. I no longer waited for her to act like she loved me. I stopped searching her face for a sign that she still did. The version of me who kept hoping, he left the moment she stepped back and said, "Don't kiss me." And something unexpected happened. The silence, once painful, became a kind of clarity. She noticed. I could tell by the way she watched me in the mornings, the way she lingered a little longer when I passed by. One day I caught her going through my phone, something she'd never done. Another evening, she spent extra time doing her makeup, even though it was just leftovers for dinner. She began doing little things she hadn't done in ages, like making my favorite pasta. I thanked her, but I stayed guarded. Then she asked if I wanted to go to brunch again like old times. But I had other plans. For the first time in a while, they were mine. That Saturday, I drove upstate alone, walked through quiet trails, sat beside a still lake. And I didn't feel lonely. I felt free, like I was finally breathing after holding my breath for too long. When I got back that evening, she was sitting on the couch in the gray sweater I once told her she looked amazing in. A candle flickered nearby. Music played softly. But something had changed, and I wasn't coming back. She had clearly made an effort. When she looked up and asked, "Where were you?" I gave a casual shrug. "Just out." "With who?" "Just me." She seemed like she had more to say, but kept it in. I didn't open the door for more. That had become our pattern, her reaching me unmoved. A couple of days later, she reached out again, literally. I had just stepped out of the shower, towel around my waist, passing the bed when she brushed my arm. "You smell good," she murmured. "Thanks," I said, not breaking my stride. That's when the small fractures began to appear. She started sending messages during the day. Casual notes. "Hope your day's going okay?" Or "Want to grab dinner later?" I responded, politely but never initiated. I let the silence stretch, the same silence I'd lived in for months. I let her feel the emptiness, the doubt, the ache of reaching for someone who no longer reaches back. Because the truth was, I had already grieved her. The woman I fell in love with had faded away long before I began pulling back. The one who sang while making breakfast, who used to look at me like I was her anchor, she was gone. What remained was someone trying to salvage what she had slowly undone. Then the message came. It was late, I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone. She was in the other room when the screen lit up. "Emily, I miss us." I stared at it, not because it was surprising, but because it confirmed what I had sensed for a while. She finally saw what she had lost. She had kept affection at a distance, closed herself off, treated warmth like an inconvenience, and still expected love to remain. But now it was different. My attention, once taken for granted, had become something she desperately missed. The next morning, she made coffee and placed a cup in front of me. She sat quietly and said, almost to herself, "I know I've been distant. I want to fix this." I looked at her, really looked. She was still beautiful, but something had changed. Something in me. I smiled gently, took a sip, kissed her forehead, a kiss once filled with longing, and said, "We'll talk soon." It wasn't dishonest, but it wasn't a promise either. She had become the one waiting now. There's a quiet kind of heartbreak in realizing too late that someone's love no longer lives where it once did. And she began to live with that every day. Not through shouting or slamming doors, but in the quiet shifts.
She tried.
Lit old candles, sprayed the perfume I used to like, laughed harder at my stories, touched my arm with nostalgia. But every gesture reminded me more of what we had lost. It all changed the moment she said, "Don't kiss me." That's when everything in me began to shut off. Still, she kept trying, long messages filled with regret and remembrance. "I don't know why I pushed you away.
You always treated me so well.
I miss how it felt to fall asleep next to you." I read them. I never ignored her. But I never gave her what she needed. My heart wasn't something she had access to anymore. One night she asked if I'd go out for a drink. I said yes, not because I hoped, but because I needed to face it head on. We ended up at the place where we had our second date. I remember the first time, how she wore that red dress, drank sangria, told me about her dream of starting a photography business. Her laugh had been effortless. This time, she wore the same dress, but her laugh wavered. Her eyes carried stories of regret, not dreams. Halfway through, she reached for my hand. I pushed you away because I was scared, she said. You love so deeply. It overwhelmed me. I didn't pull my hand away, but I didn't hold it either. I understand, I said. She leaned in, searching my face. I want us back. I met her gaze. Emily, I spent months asking what was wrong, and you kept shutting me out. I reached, and you pulled away. Do you remember what you said that morning before brunch? She nodded, eyes lowered. You said, don't kiss me. And it wasn't exhaustion or stress. You said it like being close to me disgusted you. Her tears spilled. I didn't mean it that way. I was numb. I didn't realize how far gone I was. But I did, I said. Every night you rolled to the other side. Every time you avoided my eyes. Every time I kissed you and got nothing back. And still, I loved you. I love you, she whispered. I know, I said. Just not the way I needed. When the bill came, I paid, not out of pride, but because I wanted to walk away from that bar the way I had left her emotionally weeks before, with grace. That night, she didn't sleep in our bed. I heard her crying on the couch. And it hurt, but not the same way. I didn't ache to hold her. I didn't feel broken. I just felt finished. She kept trying over the next week, making breakfast, leaving notes, suggesting therapy. But she didn't understand. I had already healed. On my own. Quietly. The last real conversation came 2 weeks later. We were on the porch, watching the sunset. I had just returned from a run. She brought 2 glasses of water. I don't know what else to do, she said. I feel like I've lost you. I looked at the horizon, then back at her. You did. Not because you aren't trying now, but because you didn't care then. I gave you my love, my patience, my energy. You didn't lose me in one moment. You let go a little more every night. And I felt every inch of that distance. She stood up, turned away, then back. Is there someone else? No, I said. But there will be. And when she comes, she'll treasure my love. She won't treat it like a burden. She won't need reminding to hold on. Her lips trembled. Are you leaving? I already did. You just didn't see it. That weekend, I packed quietly. Took only what was mine. Left the key on the counter. At the door, she stood in front of it. Mascara streaked, eyes hollow. Please, she said, voice cracking. Don't go. I met her eyes. I stayed when you didn't want me. Now that I've found peace, don't ask me to go back to pain. And I walked away. I drove to a cabin by the lake, alone but light. No buzzing phone, no heavy chest. I looked at the stars and slept like I hadn't in years. The next day, she texted, I'm sorry. Please come back. I can't sleep without you. I didn't respond. She called 3 times, then more. And that was the irony. The woman who once pushed me away was now desperate for the very connection she had refused. But I wasn't trying to hurt her. I had just outgrown the part of me that kept waiting. She didn't just break something between us. She broke something in me. And in rebuilding it, I realized I was better off moving toward a future where love is given freely, not begged for. So I walked away.